Bay Reconstruction Advisory Group. I am opening this meeting of the advisory group and hereby call the meeting to order. Recording. Oops, it's got a recording thing come across. This interrupted me. So, and hereby call the meeting to order at 6:04 p.m. This meeting is being conducted via conference call and Microsoft Teams. Attendees should note that this meeting is being recorded and will be available after the meeting for attendees to download. The link will be located in the meeting's chat window and will be accessible for 21 days. Attendees should also note that the recording will include all audio, video, and user interaction within the Microsoft Teams app. Attendees calling in via phone will be included in the recording as audio only. Thank you for joining us this evening, whether you are online or dialing in. I'd like to give you some tips to help us have a productive meeting using Microsoft Teams. First, for online users, if you don't currently see your toolbar in Microsoft Teams with your audio and video options, click anywhere on your screen and it should pop up near the center bottom of your screen. Once we open for questions and comments, if you have the raise your hand option, which is the hand icon on your toolbar, please use it to let us know you'd like to speak. If you do not see that option, you can click your microphone on and off to mute and unmute yourself to let us know that you'd like to speak. It will flash your name to let us know. For dial-in telephone users only, we will invite you to speak after the online speakers have finished. Star 6 will unmute you when our meeting facilitator, Melissa Bogdan, asks you if you'd like to speak using the last 4 digits of your phone number. Once called upon, remember to press star 6 when it is your turn to speak. If you don't wish to speak when you hear your number, no problem, we will move to the next person. This is for dial-in telephone users only. For all participants this evening, remember we ask that you remain muted unless it is your turn to speak to avoid background noise. Please unmute yourself before you begin speaking. Melissa Bogdan will let you know when it is your turn, as well as the next person in line. We ask that you please introduce yourself by giving us your name and the community you represent before moving on with your question or comment. Keep in mind that sometimes there is a delay when meeting virtually, so let's all do our best not to speak over people. For members of the public calling in to join us, we invite you to listen in, but ask that you please refrain from disrupting the meeting. If members of the public pre-registered to comment on a specific agenda item, I will provide you an opportunity to comment after the agenda item is presented. For members of the public that were unable to pre-register, I will provide you an opportunity to provide your comments at the end of the meeting before closing. So we appreciate everyone's patience and ask that you hold any comments until the designated time. For security reasons, the chat function in Microsoft Teams is not enabled. For MDOT personnel, please ask questions verbally at the appropriate time, as any posts entered in the chat window are not visible to staff and will not be responded to. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded in its entirety. Melissa Bogdan will now take a roll call of attendees. Melissa?
Yes. Good evening. Let's see. For members, if you could just say present when I call your name. Jack Broderick.
Present.
Hamilton Cheney. Bradley Cole. Nick Diotis.
Present.
Barbara Hitchings. Barbara's on there, I know. Jim Moran.
Present.
Sean Powell.
Present.
Jim Ports.
Present.
Kurt Riegel. Donald Schloss.
Present.
Tracy Schultz.
Present.
Tim Smith.
Present.
Steve Wilson. Okay. Is Richard Baker here? David Broughton. Jamie Cornelius. Anna Dove.
Present.
Ken Fender. Jim Harkness,
Present.
Pilar Helm, Aaron Henson, Natalie Henson, Courtney Highsmith, Richard Hiamillo,
Present.
Jim Joyner, Charles Kenny,
Here.
Joanna Keel, John Lancaster, Heather Lowe,
Here.
Glenn McGuire, Kelly
I'm
Mellum,
here.
Kelly's here.
Kim Millender,
Present.
Megan Mohan, Ebony Moore, Mary O'Keefe,
Present.
Will Pines,
Present.
Tim Pratt, Robert Rager,
Present.
Mike Rice,
Present.
Bradley Ryan,
Present.
Joseph Segal, John Sales, Melissa Williams, Terry Winslow,
Melissa's here. I'm sorry.
okay, and members of the public, Pat Lynch,
Present.
is Lori Rhodes on? Brian Ulrich, Ramon Robinson, Delegate Heather Bagnell,
I'm here on her behalf.
and that's Caroline Hecker.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, Todd Mon,
Present.
Steve Cahoon,
Present.
from Queen Anne's County TV, I have Chris. What's your last name, Chris? It's okay. Let's see, who else did I leave off? I have Asia from Delegate Saab's office.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, and I have Delegate Rachel Muniz. And Mike Kling, where are you calling from?
Here calling from Atkins, North America.
I'm sorry?
Apologize. Calling from Atkins, North America.
Okay, thank you. And I have Luke Tudball from Delegate Bagnell.
I'm here.
I'm sorry, what was that? Luke? Okay. Did I miss anybody?
I'm the time here is I'm having issue with my time.
Okay, great. I think that's everyone. Tracy, unless I missed anyone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I was able to get in, so I'm gonna go ahead and hang up. The 8807 should disconnect. Okay. So our first agenda item is review of the minutes of the previous meeting held in October. Are there any changes? If they are, you should have already submitted them, so hopefully we don't have any at the last minute. If there's no changes, have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Can you state your name?
I second the motion.
Motion to approve, Jim Moran.
And second,
Nick Diogo.
thank you. Our next item is requirement of House Bill 56, which is a report on the group's activities since the last meeting and any recommendations they have based on those activities. As for BRAG duties, they are to provide the MDTA with an independent, citizen-informed perspective of the authority's operations at the Bay Bridge, assess potential concerns about activity at the Bay Bridge, educate the public about activity relating to the Bay Bridge, and work with the MDTA and provide pertinent input related to traffic and customer service issues. Would any members like to share their individual educational activities, interactions with their communities since the last meeting? Anyone? Okay, now we'll move on.
Trace, hang on.
Yes, sir.
Jack,
Go ahead, Jack.
here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've had a number of discussions with various groups I'm involved in, just trying to keep folks apprised. I think the biggest question on people's minds until just recently is what is the kind of the state of decision on the third span. There's a good deal of concern about that on Kent Island. And I note that there has been a public statement out, and we'll be briefed on that this evening. Again, that's been the biggest item that's come, across my plate on local concerns. Thanks.
Okay. Like I say, I think that'll be addressed later, so.
Yes, it will.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other interactions with the community?
Tracy, it's Jim.
Tracy, Barbara Hitchings.
Okay, Barbara.
I continue to send out emails and updates to everyone on my email list and share with the Broadneck Council of Communities anything relating to the Bay Bridge.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. Jim Moran.
Tracy, I was just gonna, inform you that, and this is probably gonna come out a little bit later. Our county administrator, Todd Mon, has been working with other county administrators statewide to get resolutions and or letters of support for the replacement bridges at Sandy Point. And also, Queen Anne's County is in the process right now of making a informational video of the whys and of replacing these bridges and everything from their age to their capacity to what it may possibly look like. So that's all in progress in Queen Anne's County.
Okay, Jim, thanks for your update. Anyone else?
I'm Nick Diotis.
Yes, thank you. Most people since the last meeting, they've seen the site 7 has been chosen, which is here at the Kent Narrows and Kent Island. And most people are asking questions like we know what the bridge design is going to be. And of course, you answer them as best as you can, and you try to just, correct all the disinformation. There is disinformation out there. So as soon as you can get something positive out, it'd be very helpful, I'm sure, to this side of the community. The other thing, too, I can't tell you how many calls I got on Monday asking me when the bridge is going to open. And I said, well, the bridge is not closed. Well, what do you mean it's not closed? Route 50 is closed. I said, the bridge is not open. It's not closed. The bridge is open. It's down to one lane. So I don't know what you guys did up there, but somebody did a good job keeping that thing flowing with all the chaos on Monday. And that's what I wanted to say. They always do a good job out there. So I just want to thank them for that again. So anyone else have anything else they want to bring up in relation to the communities? Anything they've been doing out, public outreach? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the next. We have some updates on our current projects from the MDA Chief Engineer Jim Harkness, and then we'll move on to MDOT SHA Administrator Tim Smith. So, Chief Harkness, you want to go ahead?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. For the record, my name is James Harkness. I am the Chief Engineer for Maryland Transportation Authority. So I just wanted to start by wishing everyone a Happy New Year and just get right into our Bay Bridge capital project updates. So since our last meeting in October, we've completed one project, and so it is no longer in the list of projects. And so I'll just run through the ones we have that remain on here. So these projects were all on the last list, and so I'll just give you some updates on some of the progress that we've made since the last meeting. So the first project is BB 2757R. That is the replacement of the 5 kV feeder on the eastbound span and redundant cable. The work is still ongoing to install the messenger cable, as well as the beginning to install the new 5 kilovolt line on the eastbound bridge. The equipment platforms, the structural platforms, are the installation of those is completed, and then the contractor has begun work on the north bridge or the westbound bridge, and upgrading that cable. And so we have temporary platforms over there, and they're beginning that messenger cable installation. The contractor has also installed the 480 volt line on the eastbound bridge. Our next project is BB 2819. That's that westbound Bay Bridge deck rehab and miscellaneous modification contract. So the contractor has worked on doing some paving operations, and that was all the eastern shore. So that contractor milled the asphalt pavement over there, and then went ahead and was able to pave back the westbound, eastbound, and also do some full depth pavement patches. And they are now going to be working on final line striping as weather permits. They are continuing to work on the gantry replacements, the replacements of the overhead gantries that hold the lane use control signals and signs. They will complete water tests at the expansion joints that they have replaced, and that's the work we have upcoming for that one. Our next project is BB 3002. That's the Bay Bridge priority repairs. This is a task order contract to address priority findings from our inspection program. And that contract is nearing completion. It should close out next month, and that any other additional work, we have an additional on-call contract that will handle any additional work that turns up from our inspection program. The next project we have is BB 3007, which is the rehabilitate the maintenance facilities on the eastbound span. That project is wrapped up and will be closing out this month. Moving on, we have BB 3008. So that's the Bay Bridge crossover automated lane closure system that's on the eastern shore. For that project, we've been working on the installation of the cabinets that house the power and the communications. We've done the conduit and pulled wire. We've you may have seen that the gate swing arms, the installation of all those gates is completed, and the installation of 3 gantries is underway. So over the next few months, we look to complete those gantries, commission those gantries, and continue to receive some additional new gantries. Our follow-on contract is BB 3014. Now that's the work for the AET and the gate system on the western shore. Since our last meeting, I think paving was sort of partially underway. So they've completed that paving on eastbound US 50. They are continuing with trenching and boring on Whitehall Road and College Parkway. They've installed more guardrail installation. They also have begun work on the gantry and overhead sign installation. So you'll see those towers out there, and as well, we have at least 2 of the overhead gantries erected. So, and they also finished up their light pole foundations. They'll be continuing work with the fiber, the communications and the power along the side roads and US 50. They'll also install the step down foundations for the cabinets for the transformer, and they'll continue with those signal gantries and overhead sign structures. Let's see, next is BB 3013. That is the on-call structure on-call structural repair contract that I mentioned earlier. This one is picking up for the contract that will be wrapping up in February. This contract currently has 17 tasks assigned to it, so they're going to be out there working. They're working on the eastbound bridge, as we've had a lot of eastbound closures recently, so they've been out there working on the eastbound bridge, and they're also doing some of the contract work that we had in there in addition to the task order work. So let's see, I guess next then we move from contracts that are in construction to the 3 remaining contracts that are in design. And the first of those is, let's see, BB 2726. That's rehabilitate the decks of the eastbound span, phase 1. And so this is the CMAR project. So we have the CMAR team, the contractor, on board. The design team is continuing to advance the design on this contract, and they are working with the CMAR contractor with the objective of minimizing project risks and getting design constructability feedback from that contracting team. So in the next few months, we'll be finalizing our 60% design and then moving and advancing to the 90% design package. For this, we're not expecting much, if any, major work before the end of this 2022. Our next project in design is BB 3004. That's to construct the project management office and maintenance equipment storage buildings. This project was advancing through the design stages as well, and we expect to wrap up design and permitting in February, and we will be advertising this project for construction in spring of this year. Our final project and the last in design is BB 3012, which is the queue detection system. The updates for this one is that the University of Maryland Cat Lab is continuing with their software development for this this TISMO project, and that's everything for me.
Anybody have any questions for Jim? If not, we'll move on to SHA Administrator Tim Smith.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully everyone's having a good new year and staying warm. I've just got 2 quick items because I know we got potentially one later on about the variable message signs, but just 2 updates. One is related to Maryland 8 camera. I know that's been a consistent concern for many. Originally, that was set up, the communications with that was set up with microwave, which requires direct line of sight. We have since improved that. We tried to move it to cellular, and then eventually we moved it to Verizon T1 line. We just did that recently. We on our side have not seen the connectivity issues that were existing previously. We will eventually move that over to fiber and completely eliminate, or I should say mostly eliminate any reliability issues in the future. Fiber is our most consistent and best approach at this point. We're just waiting for the gantry work in that area to be completed because we didn't want to do fiber work twice. So right now we're set up with a Verizon T1 line. And like I said, if you're experiencing issues on your side, please feel free to reach out to SHA staff and let us know, and we'll address it as we can. The second item is just kind of a follow-up from last meeting. I know Commissioner Moran asked about the number of incidents, and I know a member of my team shared some information with him. We're roughly running the same number of incidents and crashes, but the question was, how does that compare with other corridors, similar corridors throughout the state? So we looked at 495, Capitol Beltway, Baltimore Beltway, and a section of 95. What we're seeing from a trend standpoint is similar corridors of roughly 40 miles in length. We looked at from basically our sections looking from the PG County line to the end of the Queen Anne's County line for the Bay Bridge, and we were looking at similar corridors in other locations. What we see is roughly a similar number of accidents per incidents we respond to in all those locations. So the Bay Bridge is not unique in that sense. There is a lower number of incidents on the Bay Bridge corridor compared to, say, the Beltways, but when you start looking at the total volume of traffic, that is representative. And more importantly, there's just other alternate and parallel routes with Capitol Beltway, Baltimore Beltway, as well as 95. You're limited in alternate routes going across the Bay Bridge. So with that, just those two quick items, and I'm open to any questions or concerns you might have about those two.
Jim, that was your question. Do you have anything, Jim Moran?
Yes, thanks, Tracy. Tim, I guess that, that was, I read the report. It was very thorough. Thank you very much. It's got great information in there, but I guess that was, you made the point there that I was trying to make, that, there are no alternate routes. The traffic on the Beltway is volume wise is much greater than what we have at the Bay Bridge. And you guys like to average things out. And I guess I was looking for some of those capacity numbers, at peak capacity with accidents and how much, backup there are. But, thank you for the report. It served its purpose.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the next unfinished business. My first item of unfinished business is some updates to inquiries from the October meeting. I will now turn the floor over to Will Pines at MDTA.
Thanks, Tracy, and good evening, everyone. For the record, my name is Will Pines, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the MDTA. And so, Melissa, if you wouldn't mind advancing to the last page of the community updates. And I'll just start talking about it while it's coming. So there is one item that is with MDTA about the stay on 50 messaging within the baseband system that is still ongoing. We're working through the procurement details, but we do expect for our IVR system to be updated so that stay on 50 messaging will be incorporated into the baseband system, so that motorists will get that reminder anytime that baseband is utilized. Additionally, another item with MDTA is on the anemometer wind speed data. Member Moran has an item later in the agenda, so we think we may have all fully addressed that, but certainly we want to hear what may be added on that item. But we do provide access to the anemometer at Pier 31 that's mounted on the Bay Bridge. The link that's provided in the column there takes you directly to that site, and the information is updated every few minutes that shows the wind speeds. So we think we've addressed this question. And with that, there's one item here about signage on stay on 50, and I'll have to kind of pause and turn that over to Tim possibly to assist with any updates that may be there.
Yeah, thanks, Will. I'm going to lean on, is Joey Sagal out there to help me on this one?
Hi, Tim. Yep, Joey's here on the bullpen. Joey Sagal, for the record, Deputy Administrator for Operations for SHA. Our Office of Traffic and Safety here at SHA is still currently in review and plans to continue reviewing the signing plan for SHA for the signage along US 50 for the Eastern Shore and the Western Shores. And the plan is to, for what it's intended, to continue to advise for motorists to continue having signage for advising motorists to stay on Route 50. I talked to our traffic safety team. Unfortunately, one of the team members that was leading this project is out with COVID. I was hoping to get a better update in time for tonight's meeting, but we will continue with this as an item of action and have an updated status by our next BBRAG meeting in fuller detail. I apologize that it's not in greater detail, but we'll continue with progress. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I think that's all of the unfinished business. Anybody have anything else on the unfinished? Okay, we'll move on to new business. The first item is an update on the Bay Crossing study from project manager Heather Lowe. Heather?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Hi, all, and Happy New Year. For the record, my name is Heather Lowe. I am the project manager for the Bay Crossing study. And I have a brief update for you regarding the study. As I mentioned at my last update, we've been reviewing all comments we received during the draft environmental impact statement comment period and the public hearings last spring, and have identified Corridor 7, the 2-mile wide corridor spanning the existing Bay Bridge, as the MDTA preferred corridor alternative. Excuse me. On December 21st, we uploaded the preferred corridor alternative package to the study website, baycrossingstudy.com, and we sent out emails notifying project stakeholders of the new information. As BRAG members, you should have all received an email, and I hope you've had a chance to take a look at the package. Our next major step for the Tier 1 NEPA study is to complete the combined final environmental impact statement and record of decision, which is the final formal step in the NEPA process. We anticipate that the final environmental impact statement and record of decision will be completed later this winter. So we are very close to finishing our Tier 1 study. And I do want to mention that, as you know, completion of Tier 1 does not presume the initiation of a Tier 2 study, as we do not have funding identified. So that's the latest on the Bay Crossing study. We're looking forward to that final step with the FEIS ROD coming out in the next couple of months.
Hello, this is Tracy. So funding that hasn't been identified, is anyone working on trying to identify it, or is that up to who to start that process?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Yes, so that would be, I think what you're asking is what we will be doing in a potential future Tier 2 study. So the Tier 1 study the purpose was to identify a corridor to meet the purpose and need of improving congestion at the existing Bay Bridge. We've identified Corridor 7 as the MDTA preferred corridor alternative, corridor alternative, excuse me. And with that FEIS ROD, when Federal Highway signs that document, then that corridor would become the selected corridor alternative. Now we need another Tier 2 study to look at alignment alternatives within that 2-mile corridor. So we're going to start the process again, but we know it's going to be once that FEIS ROD is signed, we would know that it would be within that 2-mile wide band around the existing bridges. So we don't have the information now. People are asking, well, where is it going to be? What is it going to look like? That's what the Tier 2 study is going to analyze.
Okay, I guess my question is there someone working on starting the funding process? So I don't like when I hear that possible Tier 2 study. I like to hear that we're moving to that, but I understand we need funding to do that. So is there someone working on the process of trying to find funding?
So let me answer that, Tracy. This is Jim Ports,
Thanks, Jim.
Executive Director, for the record, Executive Director for the MDTA. So yes, it is something that we're looking at. obviously, funds are finite, right? And so one of the ways this process works, Tracy, is that, obviously the counties put in their priority letter, what their priorities are for the county. Obviously, Queen Anne's County has this at or near the top of their list. And so the way the CTP process works, they have to get their letters into us by April 1st. And then we look at the CTP and all the funds that we have available to see how we can fund the state's priorities. And then we, try and fund the most priorities we can that are priorities of each of the local jurisdictions. Obviously, we're not able to fund all of them, but that's the goal. And so, yes, we're looking at it. Yes, we're looking at some of the federal funds to see if this type of project would even fit into some of the regulations coming from the federal government. And all those regulations have not been completed, and the bills or the money has not been totally appropriated yet. So some of this is a waiting game on the feds also. So we are looking at all avenues, but we can't say that it's guaranteed at this point, but we are looking at any way potentially to fund it. Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure we're trying to move forward, not just get this tier 1 done and just say, well, got that done, and not have the next step in the process. It's going to take long enough as it is to build this if it ever gets approved, let alone hold it up for a year or two trying to find funding. So any help that you need from this committee or counties surrounding, let us know. Yeah. So that is the key, Tracy. What I said is it really helps if it becomes a priority for the local governments. Again, it is a priority for Queen Anne's. There's no question about that. But it's not as much a priority for Anne Arundel County. So at least in our priority letter I'm talking about. And so how we get that bumped up, or if there are any other counties that can at least get it on the priority letter, even if it isn't the top priority, we understand that. But any of those synergies really help the CTP process. And your elected officials that you have on this call all know that. Okay, so that's what Queen Anne's County, it seems like they're taking the initiative, our commissioners, to push this and get it on top of everybody's list so that we can try to support this. So I think our commissioners from Queen Anne's are doing that. So. Correct. And as a matter of fact, Tracy, Todd Munn, myself, and the soon-to-be executive director, Will Pines, had a call this morning where we talked specifically about the initiative of trying to get other counties on board. So, we're always looking at this stuff. We're always having talks. So, yes, Queen Anne's has taken a lead in this effort, along with us in a partnering effort, if you will. And so, yes, we're having those conversations. Okay, just let us know if this committee can help you any. And like I say, our commissioners, I think, we'll try to help. They're already getting out there and getting the ball rolling. So anything we can do to help, let us know. Yes, sir. Thank you. Jim Moran, do you want to add anything to that? Or?
Well, I'm going to first start with congratulating Jim Ports on his new position coming up in a week or so, and for Will Pines. It's been great working with the both of you on this monstrosity. We look forward to continuing our struggle and our movement forward. But I think it speaks for itself, both of you being promoted into the positions that you're going to be taking. So congratulations. As far as the support, the priority letters, honestly, I should have been paying a little more attention to that, because as we're getting resolutions and support letters, we need to now start telling everybody, hey, it needs to be in your priority letter to the state, somewhere in that letter, so that helps move this process along. So we will get that fired up and get rolling with that ASAP.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim. First of all, thank you for the kind words. Secondly, moving into that position, obviously we got to get Senate confirmed, but moving into that position with my knowledge and commitment on this project can only be an asset moving forward. I think you know what I mean. I will have a greater opportunity to make bigger decisions. But again, we got to get Senate confirmed. So you know, I'm an advocate for you, and I'm going to continue to advocate for you. You know, I've been strategizing with you, and we're going to continue that effort.
And it's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
I was unaware of your possible promotion, hopefully promotions, but we get Senate confirmed. But congratulations to both of you, and hopefully we'll continue to work together well as we always have. So this takes us right into our next item of business. Is an update on recent county resolutions on the Bay Bridge study from MDTA Manager of Government Relations, Brad Ryan. Brad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here to provide you and the BRAG members with an update on resolutions passed by Queen Anne's County Commissioners and the Anne Arundel County Council in support of a new Bay Bridge. On September 28th of last year, the County Commissioners of Queen Anne's County approved Resolution 2117. Shortly thereafter, on October 4th of last year, the Anne Arundel County Council approved Resolution 4921. The resolutions point to the capacity issues resulting in congestion in communities located in the two communities. These two resolutions call for the state of Maryland to construct a new bridge in the same location. The resolutions call for a minimum of 8 travel lanes to provide adequate capacity and dependable and reliable travel times for those traveling the bridge. Finally, the resolutions call for the MDTA to begin a Tier 2 study for the Bay Crossing study, which Heather and Jim just elaborated on a bit earlier. And with that, I thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Brad Ryan?
Tracy, I just want to add in there that Kent County and Garrett County also have resolutions in that are completed. So we are working with Caroline and Talbot, and I think Dorchester and Wycomico. So we're trying to get the rest of them on board with that also.
You would think that the city of Ocean City would be on board with this too, but
we're going to go to them also.
Very good. Thanks for all your work for that. Okay. Anybody else have anything else? Our next is a very
Mr. Chairman, Joey Sagal from Maryland State Highway. If I may, can I go back for my item on the US 50 sign, sir?
Absolutely. Help yourself.
Thank you very much. This just in from my director of traffic. It was actually in my email, so I apologize. But the goal is that they're looking at multiple options for the signage, and the mainline signs will focus on keeping folks, of course, on local roads, and they will make sure that those concepts and those goals are to have the signs in place by Memorial Day this year. One of the constraints, though, we're having is to work around is the required text size on the signs may push some of these signs on to steel supports for the signage, and we're having an issue with the steel. So we're going to look at options to perhaps temporarily install them on wood until that steel comes in. But the goal is to have them out by Memorial Day. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much for the update. So, okay, your next item of business is variable message board locations. So that was from, turn the floor to Commissioner Moran.
Thanks, Tracy. Well, this was something that I've had people ask me about in the past. Why are some of the message boards where they're located, and could there be better locations for it? And I know that a lot of study goes into this. I know that selection of these sites goes into that. But I thought, as an organization of the BRAG, if all the members had a map that showed where each were these locations of each one of these message boards and the message on those boards, they would have time to digest it and maybe come back at our next meeting and with any possible suggestions for maybe a better location or a better message. So that's all. That was just for, I mean, I think we've done that pretty well in Queen Anne's County. I think where we have our message boards now are serving and people are getting the message. So, and I noticed the ones now because I commute every day to Crofton. I noticed the ones on the Western Shore and we're cutting through Anne Arundel County. But if we could just, again, have just one map of the corridor showing where each one of those message boards are and the message on it. So everybody has that information. So when they get, somebody approaches them about it and says, I never knew, you have something to, in your toolbox that says, well, here's where they are. So that's what that was all about.
Okay, someone wanted to speak up on that, that could answer that, maybe provide that information to the
Yeah,
committee?
absolutely, Chair. This is Tip Smith with Maryland State Highway Administration. I had some information prepared. We have actually 14 dynamic message signs on both the Eastern Shore and the Western Shore. We do have more portables on the Eastern Shore, but I can share that where those locations are, but I get your point with the map. I'd be happy to put those on a map and share that with the group here. And just for situational awareness purposes, there is guidance on the spacing and distancing between signs for the motorists to be able to read and digest. So there's certain logistics that need to be done for that, but happy to share where we have it and happy to have any feedback about that. We can easily share that map with the group. That's not a problem at all.
Thanks, Tim. That's exactly what I was looking for. I got your study, the ITS device feasibility study for this message boards and, some of the other cameras that we're looking for in Queen Anne's County. And I understand with all those different parameters you have. Wow. I mean, that's a hell of a report. So, would love to have anything you could give to the group for their knowledge. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Hey, Tim, if I may as well,
Sure.
for situational awareness for the group, if I may, Melissa, tell me if I'm going to mess you up here. May I steal the screen for a moment and just show some features that are available on chart so that the team understands how that may be a resource?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
You're going to get fancy on us, Will?
I'm going to get real fancy here.
You're going to go like Applebee's or something on us now? Okay.
So within the MDOT SHA chart page, there is a GIS layer in here, and you can go into the layering. It actually has the message signs available that you can turn on, and that allows you to see the layout of the signs that are out there and actually click on them and see the message that's posted in real time. That does not include PVMSs as Tim mentioned, but just for awareness, this is a feature that exists today.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I was actually going to share that link, and then we're probably going to take a screenshot of the map anyway with this. So
right.
Exactly. And, and then forward the link, and then that's something that we could pass on to everybody and anybody. Here's the link that shows where they are. And if you have any questions, there's what you're looking at.
All right, back to you, Melissa.
Yeah. Well, and Jim, it's Jim Porch real quickly. Jim Moran, as if you read that report, you can see how prescriptive the federal government and the federal government guidelines are for all of our traffic control devices, which, we're going to call these signs are traffic control devices, even to the point, and I usually like to make this point just to demonstrate how in the weeds they are about how we do our signage. But a traffic control device like a speed limit sign, a stop sign, yield sign, all those types of signs that control traffic, believe it or not, are at a 90-degree angle perpendicular to the highway. However, if you have a parking sign or some sign, no parking and stuff like that, they are not a traffic control device. So they go at a 45-degree angle. So if you ever look at one of these, you will actually see it's not perpendicular to the highway. That's how prescriptive they are about our highway signs. So I just throw that out there as an example of some of the challenges we have and SHA has with signage.
Okay, thanks for all the information. And like I said, the counties could hook it to their websites. People could click on that and go to that page and click on the signs and get a lot of information out of it. So thank you for that update. The next we have is Commissioner Moran on the anemometer data. Jim?
Yes, thanks. So again, and I'm sure Will's going to click on a page and click on a link and we're going to find exactly what I'm looking for. But, you know, when the bridge closes for wind restrictions, people start to lose their minds. And I'm sure that, you know, you guys know that and you've been dealing with that for decades. But I thought, you know, one of the things we could do, because now more people are using chart and more people are using any other devices they can think of to look at cameras and everything else to find out where these delays are. If somewhere on that page, when you first click on that page, you just have that anemometer and it's given a live feed. It's telling you what the wind speed is. So when, you know, with the restrictions that we have with the wind, you know, it can't be up to somebody saying that, well, I don't think it's that windy or whatever the case may be. We hear all the complaints. And I just thought, well, this is one way to get rid of the complaints. You put it on the site. When you pull the site up, the first thing you're going to see is what the wind speed is up on the bridge. And that's what I was looking for. Show me where it is, Will.
With that though, too, they ought to put up the restrictions listed there for the speed so that people understand why, maybe too. I'm not sure if that would help some.
Yeah, I'm happy to show you. The link was provided in the community updates. If you want to see it live, I can pop that up for a second if that's helpful. At the end of the day, you know, this is, let me know when you're able to see it, Member Moran.
Okay, I'm looking at the local weather station data.
Yep, this is from the chart page, local weather station data. You can see WPL Pier 31. And this is updated every few minutes. That is a little bit of a challenge, okay, because wind speeds change a lot. And we have to look at gusts, prevailing winds, and winds, you know, they're going to go up and down. So we are not, you may jump on here and see that it's 11 miles an hour and it was 20 miles an hour the 2 minutes before then. So to your point, just like we decide when to put salt on the road, we decide a lot of when to cut grass for safety measures. In the same vein, we're going to be looking at the data and making judgments based on the wind information that we have. This is probably not going to give you exactly what you're saying, where somebody's going to always agree with our operational decision, but from a safety perspective, we do have the wind data. We are leveraging that to make sound decisions for safety practices, following our wind policies, which are also published and we regularly put out updates about. So the info is there. If somebody wanted to sit there and track it to death to see how closely the data aligns with what they perceive should be, it's there. But at the same time, again, ultimately, we have to operate the bridge. And I hope you understand how variable winds are. I don't know if from me talking, this update was 652, it was 11 miles per hour. Just for kicks and giggles, I'll update it and see, you know, I lost it myself now. Here we go. It's still 11, so that didn't help. But yeah, I think you get the point.
Well, I know, but I think I thought I read somewhere that you take it, you know, you don't take what the actual wind is now. You take in the last 30 minutes what the strongest wind gust was. I don't know if that's something you can do an incremental. I don't know. I think that if we offer something there, I think it turns down some of that noise, and that's just the part that gets frustrating to me. People always talk about transparency, and yet, you know, I think it would be difficult for someone to. I could never find what we're looking at now. I don't know. I'm just not computer savvy, so if it's not right there in front of me, it's hard to get to that. With that being said, I do understand your point that you're right. You know, if one of your restriction kicks in at 20 miles an hour and it's bouncing between 11 and 15, and you know it's going to get to 20, you're going to put your safety measures in place. You know, I just think we just need to explain it. That's all. It's food for thought.
Yeah, the info's out there. We do have some limitations on how to present it because it's linked into the chart system and it needs to follow the way that it's presented. So, but
well, and Will, isn't it true that
that we're also looking at other forecasts as wind conditions come in. So similar to the snow conditions, like when Tim Smith is looking at the snow reports, like we know that the snow is going to start, for example, at 5 in the morning, and it's going to last until 11 in the afternoon. So we're not looking at the data as it falls. We're looking at the data as it's coming into our area. And so we do the same thing with wind. There are times that we know what the wind forecast is going to be, especially like think about how a hurricane works. You know, 4, 5, 6 days ahead that you're going to get a hurricane, and these are going to be the wind factors. Well, we also get wind data hours ahead saying, okay, we expect the wind to be picked up and maybe 50-mile-an-hour gusts by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So we can't wait until 2 o'clock when it actually happens, because if we're in contraflow or we're going to, if we're in contraflow, we got to come out of contraflow. As you know, that takes about 20 minutes to a half hour to do that. So we would have to be deactivating contraflow earlier than what somebody might be looking at that wind factor. You see what I'm saying? So there are other things that we do operationally to make sure that we have the most safe system going in.
Totally understand that.
Yeah, so I just want to make that clear so that we all, if you're looking at a specific point in the day, it may not line up with exactly what we're doing because we see things coming that you can't see.
Correct. And I totally understand that. And that's one of the things where, again, you know, maybe we could post something, what the highest wind speed was in the last 2 hours, or you know what I mean? Something that you could post out there. Yeah. And just out of curiosity, when the gate system's done, it's not going to take us 20 minutes to turn off contraflow, is it?
That's true. It will be quicker. It will be, no, that's right. It will be much quicker, and that's why we're doing it.
Right.
But as we had said before, it takes 20 minutes to a half hour, and it does create a backup automatically in both directions. So the gate system will help that effort. We'll be able to go in and out a little quicker, but people still may say, but you went out too quickly, or you went in too quickly, you know, based on what they're seeing on that wind speed data, and yet we know it's coming. So we just got to be, when we talk about this, we got to factor that into the narrative, especially when we're talking community associations and all that. I know you get it. I know you understand this, but there's a lot of people who don't and want to take things literally as, well, like Will said, it's not 20 miles an hour right now. Okay, right. Well, you're right.
Can I ask a question, Jim? It's Nick.
Sure.
Go ahead, Nick.
Hey, I wanted to ask a question because you're bringing up the gate system. The technicians and repair people for the gate systems, will they be in-house people working for the state, or will they be contracted to people outside?
Actually, I probably had to defer to Tim Harkness or Will on that one because they were closer to that RFP.
Yeah, I think
initiative.
at a high level, there's a lot of different components to the gate system. There are software pieces, there's hardware pieces, there's aspects of the gate system that our internal staff will be able to perform preventative maintenance and repair activities on. And then certain activities that require, for example, integrating features in software or doing new releases of software updates and things like that. Those certainly are going to require external contractors or consultants to assist us with. So it's really going to be a combination of both.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure they'll operate and save a lot of time and move a lot more cars. And that's the whole purpose. But I just hate to have to call somebody from New Jersey to wait for them to get here to fix it. And that's what my point was. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any more questions? I saw a hand up earlier, but now it's gone. Any further questions on this item? We'll move on to the next, which will be the concerns from the Holly Beach Farm, and I'll turn the floor over to Member Vice Chair Hitchens.
Good evening, everyone. Anne Arundel County Executive Stuart Pittman is proposing a ferry system to cross the bay to help alleviate traffic problems. The terminal in Anne Arundel County to be located at Holly Beach Farm, no site named on the Eastern Shore. People have contacted me for more information on the part of the state and the Eastern Shore. I directed them to the Bay Bridge website and the minutes of the April 29th, 2020 BRAG meeting. An overview of the study done by the state on a ferry system was presented at that meeting. And there was also a link in the minutes that would lead one to the entire 45-page report. The general conclusion from that study appeared to be that a ferry system was not feasible at this time. In talking with the people who contacted me, there were mainly 4 areas where they wanted more information from the state and or Eastern Shore. One, has the state and or the Eastern Shore been approached by the Anne Arundel County Executive with his proposal for establishing a ferry system? Is there any consideration that the state would consider this option more than has already been done? Could Anne Arundel County, within the bounds of state regulations, initiate or explore setting up their own ferry system? Do you see a ferry system in the future, perhaps in another location? The main concern from the residents is more traffic being brought to the Route 50 corridor and the roads leading to the crossing if a terminal is located at Holly Beach Farm. And I'm sure the residents of the Eastern Shore would have the same concerns with the terminal located in Queen Anne's County. Jim Ports and Will Pines can probably comment to the information from the state, and the Eastern Shore members can add any information or comments from their area perspective.
Sure. So this is Jim Ports. The answer to your first question, which I believe was, did they contact us and notify us of this project? The answer is no. Okay, that's an easy one.
Okay.
The second question, go ahead and refresh my memory because I wasn't able to write them down.
Is there any consideration that the state or the Eastern Shore would consider this option more than has already been done? Referring back to that 2020 report.
So I will try and take that one on, but if I misspeak, Heather will correct me. We're getting some feedback, so somebody might have to go on mute. So the study that we did was part of the Tier 1 NEPA study. And the Tier 1 NEPA study is more specific around, will a ferry system remove enough traffic to be worthy of considering? And so the study that we did showed that it would not remove enough traffic to offset, the amount of traffic that we anticipate in the out years. So the Tier 2 study that we would have to go through with the federal government would also look at the potential of a ferry system, as well as, transit and other facility, bicycles and all those others. So it will look at some of those studies, but it's a slightly different study. And maybe Heather can help me out with the how specifically it differs. Heather, do you have some of that info? So I thought Heather was here, but maybe not. But I do know it's a slightly different. Is she there?
I'm sorry, here I am.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Oh.
So I apologize. So there were 2 ferry studies. There was one with the Tier 1 study. We looked at different modes, and one of those modes was a ferry. We found that a ferry would not, as Jim was saying, would not remove or take enough cars off the Bay Bridge to make it worthwhile. It just wouldn't do that. Then we did another study. We were asked to prepare an electric ferry study, specifically electric ferry, and to look at what the requirements would be to have a ferry system that would take the place of another crossing of the bay. So rather than another bridge or a bridge tunnel. And that study found that ferries the size that we would need don't even exist at this point, and it would be very expensive, both to the state and to the user of the ferries. That's probably the link that you mentioned. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look, but I think that's when Charles, you presented the electric ferry study. So now if we move on to a tier 2 study, as Jim was mentioning, we will be looking at ferries to see if they could help as well. So we will, we haven't discounted them entirely, and we have committed to looking at rapid transit and a ferry alternative as well in a potential future tier 2 study.
Yeah, and I think the federal government requires us to look at different modes and how they could impact the highway system, or in this case, a bridge system. So it's part of the NEPA requirement that we look at the study. Do we think that it would come out much different? We're not sure, but I mean, we did 2 studies already. So you can read into that what you like, but I can't say because of my position. So the third question you had is that the one where you said, could they do it on their own?
Yeah, could they do it on their own?
Was that the question?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So could Anne Arundel County create a ferry system on their own? The answer would be yes. Similar to how Baltimore City has a ferry system across the harbor. And so now that is under the federal purview. Anne Arundel County would have to submit to the federal government and file the NTD, or National Transit Database, criteria for a ferry system, and they would be regulated accordingly by the federal government. So it's a very comprehensive process that I'm very aware of because of my days of running transit. But running transit and or other modes of transportation, including ferries, is all part of the NTD, or National Transit Database, network with the federal government. So they could, but they'd have a lot of reporting to do, and I'm sure they have someone in their organization that would recognize that, but I'd have to check. And the fourth question?
Do you see a ferry system in the future, perhaps in another location?
Oh, that's not, first of all, we're not there as far as our study goes, and the information we'd have to provide the federal government. And I have no idea where Anne Arundel County is on that issue, or in this case, the county executive, or others, because that would be, it's their initiative. So since we're not aware, we were actually made aware by members of this group that this initiative was moving forward. I don't have an idea, and that's a better question to ask the county executive or someone from his organization.
Hey, Jim, if I may, I'd like to possibly add one point going back to question 1 on
Sure.
Has there been some coordination with the state? I think it's worth pointing out that we're talking about MDOT, and did the county potentially reach out to MDE or DNR or somebody about feasibility of permitting or whatever, we're just not privy to that information, I think. And so is it possible that they talk to somebody within state government, not that we're aware of? Is that a fair statement, Jim?
Yeah, but I think the question was, did they talk to anybody from MDOT? And I'm not aware, or MDTA, and I'm not aware. We were not part of the rollout. We were not part of the press conference or whatever it was that they had. So no, we just weren't aware. Well, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, thank you.
It looks like Delegate Bagnall's office has a comment, and we also have Pat Lynch had called in to comment on this agenda item as well. So Luke, if you would like to speak.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to comment on the previous statement. This is Delegate Heather Bagnall, because I think that might be in response to an op-ed. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in response to an op-ed that was drafted by the county executive and Mayor Gavin Buckley. And if I'm correct, I believe it was actually questioning whether we could have a ferry between Holly Beach Farm and downtown Annapolis. I don't think it was to go across the bay. If it was in response.
Yeah, actually, Delegate, I saw the video was forwarded to me. So
okay,
I read everything I get. I watch everything I get. My folks will tell you I read everything, and that's some people that gets heartburn too, but others they enjoy it. But it was my understanding it was the ferry system. You're right, to go to Annapolis, but it was also touted as going to Baltimore City as well as Kent Island.
Okay.
So Kent Island was in the mix. And there may have been some other locations. I just don't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry, Delegate, but I just don't remember. But there may be others on this call that might be able to answer any other locations. But I definitely saw those three on there.
Okay. No, I appreciate that because,
Sure.
I saw the op-ed, and so I wasn't sure if this was in response to that.
I'm not sure the op-ed had everything in it, but the video that they did that accompanied, that I believe was supposed to accompany the op-ed or was part of a press conference. I'm not really sure what it was. Again, I wasn't in attendance, so I'm not positive, but I know that there was a video done and it showed these different coordinated efforts.
Hey, Jim, I think I know what this is. This is an economic development project for tourism. This was it was going to start with 4 points, possibly more, and just to move. If you get on a ferry for a day, you go across to Kent Island, you shop, you go to Baltimore City. It's one of those. I don't think this had anything to do with moving cars. Just people going back and forth for tourism. So I think that's what this is all about. And I know that we reviewed something like that with our Economic Development Commission.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And congratulations. It's my first opportunity to say congratulations to the team on all the new leadership.
Thank you.
Yes,
and we'll continue to have a good working relationship with you.
Delegate Casual. What's up? What's up, Casual? I'm busy. I'm working. Are you? What's up, my man?
Okay, we have someone that says an open mic. There you go. So, okay, Vice Chairman Barbara Hitchens, do you have anything further you want to discuss about this item?
No, just I'll pass all this information back to the people who contacted me. Their biggest concern, I think, was the fact that, with the backups we get already with the Bay Bridge, that if more traffic was being funneled into Holly Beach Farm, because it would be a terminal, it would make traffic on 50 even worse than it already is on weekends. So I will pass all of this information back on to them. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to invite Ms. Pat Lynch to speak at this time about this, or do you want to wait for public comments?
She can speak about it if she wishes right now.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak to all of you.
The fact is that Stuart Pittman has included the relief of traffic from the Broadneck Peninsula over to Kent Island as one of the justifications of the ferry system. This was a 4-point location: Baltimore, Annapolis, Broadneck, and Kent Island. And one of the justifications was to relieve the traffic. And those of us who live on this peninsula and know the issues of traffic pileups on summer weekends, we know that that would have the reverse effect. It would require staging areas for cars waiting to get on the ferries. I have talked to some of the leaders in MDTA, and they have priced the one-way trip. It's out of sight, and the time would be so much longer than just driving over the bridge. So this is not going to be supported by my organization, the Broadneck Council, or anybody I am associated with over here. I also wanted to just mention the fact that we're very concerned about the traffic that would come to the Broadneck Peninsula if there was a designation of the Holly Beach Farm property. It's 300 acres. There's a plan to put a parking lot at the north end and also to make it available for boating. Boating seems like a minor issue. It would allow certain water access that our county executive is justifiably trying to find, but there has to be a dependency on MDOT and their experts to be able to show that the Route 50 corridor can handle the amount of traffic that could be generated by a national park. This is not just a state park, folks. This is a national park. The inclusion of Holly Beach Farm into the repository of national designated parks. And it's easy to say, well, you know, we'll limit it, have a small parking lot. Doesn't work that way. We've seen what's happened at Sandy Point, and they have parking places for 1,500 cars, and they've had, until we got involved, they have long lines of traffic just parked on College Parkway waiting to get into the park. Most of that traffic comes from PG County, and I am told through various communications I'm getting from a lot of folks in this area that those who are trying to gain water access could be outside of Anne Arundel County. So we're hoping that State Highways and MDTA gets involved with the county, that they do traffic studies, and that they focus on adequate public facilities, which is very heavily oriented towards traffic, before they make any moves to turn Holly Beach Farm into a national park.
All right, Pat, thanks for your comments. Have any other comments on this issue before we move on?
Well, Tracy, it's Tim Porch again, real quickly. So, I mean, what Pat just said about us getting involved in traffic studies. So, I'm sure Will could give much more details than me, but they would have to do a traffic impact study. If it is a park, there's other studies they have to do accordingly. I won't get into all the details because it'll take too long. But I want to make it clear that when development is being initiated by a local government or county or whatever, that when they do the traffic impact study, it's just that. It's a traffic impact study, and then we provide that information back to the developers, or in this case, it would be the federal government, and then it's up to them to mitigate that traffic. So the state or MDTA or SHA cannot stop the development. They can only say that you must do these certain criteria to mitigate that traffic. So I just want to be clear about that process. And we could talk about that later and explain more to you about it, but it is a very involved process.
Okay, thanks for your update on it. Anyone else have any other comments? If not, we'll move on to public comments. Melissa, do you have anyone on the list for public comments?
No, just Miss Lynch.
Okay. Sorry that we had to make this meeting a virtual meeting. I'm not a virtual person either. I even had trouble getting on today, but I finally did. hopefully our next meeting we'll have in person, but this COVID mess has just gotten out of hand and we didn't want to take any chances. So I appreciate everybody pitching in and working with us today, and hopefully in 3 months we'll be able to meet in person again. So our next meeting will take place on Wednesday, April the 6th at 6 p.m. May I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting. Nick Diotis.
Second, Jim Moran.
Second.
Thanks, everyone. I hope everybody had a safe holiday and a happy new year, and let's make 2022 another great year. Thank you, and that's the close of the meeting.
Happy New Year's and healthy
Thank
years,
you.
everybody.
Congratulations on promotions.
Thank you all.